I don't think anyone suspected we would ever get a map weirder than Pena in Jurassic World Evolution. But then Frontier was like, here, have Sorna 1993. A lot of us were disappointed in this map, myself included, but there are still fun things you can do with the space. If you're struggling with building on Sorna 1993, here are 5 tips to help and inspire you for your build. Hey guys, this video on Sorna 1993 once more completes my 5 tips series for these sandbox maps. Check out the other tips videos as well, the playlist is included in the end screen. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you like this channel, please subscribe. I do all sorts of park building tips, tricks, builds and tours, and I hope you'll enjoy. But let's just first tackle this odd shaped map. It's a small map, so I'll try to keep this video short and won't keep you from building. I built my park on Sorna in exactly 2 hours and 59 minutes, so getting it in just under the wire of 3 hours, and you can have a pretty cool park in a short amount of time as well. Just like Pena, Sorna 1993 has a couple of larger sections connected by narrow straights. In total we have 5 buildable bits strung together. Because there is so little space to work with, I really recommend you go with tip number 1, build in the Jaypee Era. I know. I said the same thing for Nublar 1993, but for this Sorna map it really is the best way to go. The buildings in the Jaypee Era are much more compact than their JW counterparts. Also important is that a Jurassic Park attracts far fewer guests than a Jurassic World, so you simply need fewer hotels and guest amenities. Another important thing is that you are in charge of where the arrival point is going to be. Now, the set arrival point in the JW Era is in the same section as where I decided to build my guest area, but being able to place the helipad precisely where you want it really helps you get the most out of the space. Tip number 2, contain your guest area to a single section. I picked the obvious one, the middle section, but I could also recommend the bigger sections at the top right or either of the 2 forward cliffside sections, although you will need to be extra frugal with space there. You could expand your guest area to multiple sections via long paths down the narrow straights between the mountains and along the cliff edges, since there is no transport rating. People in the 90s were just much more fit and active, I suppose. But one of those long, noodly paths always look a little weird to me. And besides, there is no need to use any of the other sections for your guests, as opposed to your dinosaurs. One section is plenty big enough for a 5-star facility rating, so use the rest for great exhibits with lots of dinosaurs to get a 5-star dinosaur rating as well. What I've specifically done with my guest area was place the hotels at the edge to give them a nice view. The helipad arrival point is tucked away behind the visitor center and hidden behind the trees to create the illusion that this second helipad is actually connected to the visitor center and guests arrive through there. What I've also done was I've built a little plaza at the rear of the visitor center where there is that little terrace with parasols. I pretended that the seating area is actually extended further, and I've placed a cafe, gift shop and restroom. Just imagine there are more tables with parasols here, okay? Use the force. I only have 1 hatchery, which is one of 2 main reasons why this build even took 3 hours. I'll tell you the other main reason when we get to a later tip. It would have been a lot quicker if I just built more hatcheries and deleted them later, and I could have deleted this 1 hatchery too once I was done, but I really didn't need the space, so I just decided to keep it. But you can always go for multiple hatcheries and delete them later. Tip number 3. In my opinion, there are a couple of maps where the redwood trees really look natural. The big maps where you can put enough space between the tropical trees and the redwoods to make it look good. And Sorna 1993 because there isn't too much forested area beyond the border of the buildable map. There are a lot of cliff faces or just sparsely forested mountains. It's easier to make the redwoods blend when it's not immediately apparent that your park is situated in the middle of a tropical jungle. Pena would also actually be pretty good, come to think of it. Anyway, I'd say Sorna 1993 is one of the few ideal maps to go balls to the walls with the redwood trees. So that's what I did, and that's what I recommend for you as well. Tip number 4. Sorna 1993 actually has a lot in common with Pena, and one of the things is shale. Finally, another island that has this beautiful texture, so you better get the most of it. What I've done in my park, and I ended up really liking, was lining all of the pathwork and the tour tracks with shale. That little trim along the edge really grounds the paths and the track, and in my opinion it lets them blend into the natural texture of grass and dirt much better, so as not to look so stark. Speaking of the paths, and this is just a little bonus tip I suppose, the Jaypee Era paths look really nice together because they are more earthly toned as opposed to the damp pink of the fancy path in the Jurassic World era. You all know by now, I'm guessing, that I like me some extensive path design, but that's not really what you want to do on Sorna 1993 because of the space constraint. What I've really grown to like, and I recommend you do as well to make your parks look more interesting, is to mix and match the different path types on a small scale. You don't need to create big and over-the-top patterns like I usually do to give some visual interest, just switch between the different path types for certain sections and combine them in fun ways. I think it instantly makes even a simple and small park look more well thought out, detailed and realistic. Finally, tip number 5, and the real reason why this park took as long as it did. What I think looks really cool for this map is to not have enclosures on the other sections, but to pretend the tours are going into the wild where the dinosaurs are actually roaming free. And I literally went 2 different routes with that. On the right side I have all herbivores and the tours go through as you'd expect, driving through a big gate into open space. The reasoning is that the steep mountains keep this section of the island safe from predators, with the exception of a small troop of compies, which is why the herbivores thrive here and guests can drive through safely. The left side of the island, however, is populated by a lot of carnivores. To make the tours be able to go through safely, the park builders spent years, in reality for me something like an hour, laying down track and lining it with fences. So actually the tour is closed in, not the dinosaurs. I mean, technically, since the tracks loop, you still get enclosures, but let's pretend it's so big that they aren't really enclosures. Now, to be fair, this was a bit of a task to get the fences as close to the track as possible. The second side you do is going to be the most difficult because it's so close to the other side that the fences actually want to snap together across the track. It takes some work to get right, and obviously a bit of fiddling is involved to get the fence to follow the same curve as the track, but I managed pretty well and I like how it looks. I have like this big highway in one of the parts with 3 tracks lying alongside each other and then splitting off in different directions. I don't know if you think it's worth the effort, but I really like it. It's just that tad bit different from everything else I've already done. Now, since you guys seem to like speed builds, of course I recorded the entire build of this park as well. So if you want to see the speed build version of this, comment Speedy Sorna down below. Yes, I am once more forcing you to participate in horrible word puns. It is my one source of joy in life, okay? Just give me this one thing. I hope these tips help and inspire you with your own build on Sorna 1993. Let me know what you are going to do or what you have already done with this map. Thanks for watching, and until next time, enjoy the game!